Hi everyone, I'm just getting myself organised here. Nice to see you all. I've seen a few of you today. Been doing a bit of dancing myself, dizzy. I don't know whether you saw it on the Bariatric Success Lounge this morning. If those of you who aren't members of that want to join it, that'd be really good, because we're doing a challenge at the moment. We're doing a 30-day challenge. That allows us, well, basically there's a challenge every single day that you can do, and if you do the challenge and provide the evidence that I ask you to do, you get put into a free prize draw, and there are a few prizes at the end of the month that will be drawn out at the end of the month, or some of them I might do weekly, there's some courses. So there's one of my emotional eating courses. There's somebody else who's given a course on how to interior design for your house. There's another coach that I know that's given a course on how to survive being a parent in this time. I'm hoping I can get some teachers involved with some homeschooling stuff. So it's all basically stuff to help you get through this period of change that we're going through at the moment. I've also got some vitamins to give away. I've got books. I've got all sorts of bits and pieces. So if you can, if you're not on the Bariatric Success Lounge, I suggest that you get on that as soon as possible, because the more challenges you complete, the more raffle tickets you've got to go into the raffle at the end of the month. So it's not like you have to do every single challenge. You can nip in and out and do whichever challenges you want, but obviously the more you complete, the more chance you've got of winning a prize. So that's the way it works. It's about keeping people motivated, happy, healthy, and on track through these, it is shitty. It's pretty difficult times, really. So, yeah. So anyhow, those of you that don't know me, my name is Amanda Jane Duggan. I am a bariatric success specialist. I help primarily bariatric patients to release their excess weight and step into their very best life, feeling healthy, happy, and unstoppable. I also help support clients going to the Czech Republic for weight loss surgery, and at the moment it's a little bit difficult because there aren't any flights, so people aren't going, and it would seem that bariatric surgery all over the world has been postponed. I feel so awful for those people that had surgery booked, anywhere, because, I know how I geared up for my surgery when I had mine 7 years ago, and how absolutely geared up you are, full of hope and excitement, but also a bit of fear, and to have it sort of like pulled under your feet, the rug from under your feet at the last minute, it just must be devastating, and my heart absolutely goes out to every single one of you that are in that position at the minute. New Leaf have made a commitment that we will, if people want to book their surgery for some time in the future, that we will, we're saying maybe 3 months from now would be a good time, and we will keep all our prices the same, including our support courses. So that actually did have a £500 reduction, and it went up at the beginning of March, but I'm going to put it back down again now to try to help as many people get some support as possible through this. So that's my bariatric success solution, and also the New Leaf weight loss surgery. So a lot of places will be putting prices up, but we're not going to. So I would suggest, if you're still considering surgery, you get booked in fairly quickly, because once all this madness is finished, the chances are that everybody will be trying to book, and even people that were on the NHS will have a huge waiting list again. So there is going to be a scramble really for places. So I would suggest that you get something booked in now to keep the price. And also that means that we can move you around a bit if we have to, but at least you're booked in for the surgery. So you're going to be one of the first people in the line when it all comes back on track again, which it will, I'm sure it will. So what we're going to talk about tonight. So tonight I am going to give you a bit of help with some binge eating. So I am an eating disorder therapist. Well, I did my training as an eating disorder therapist, and I primarily concentrated on binge eating disorder and emotional eating, and what we call orthorexic eating, which is it's a type of eating disorder that doesn't fit into any of the other little boxes. People like vegans and vegetarians are very, very restrictive with their food. Not just being a vegan or vegetarian makes you orthorexic, it doesn't. But, you know, it usually has that type of, should I say, restriction involved as well. But we're not talking about that tonight. What we're talking about is binge eating. So I thought what I would do is ask you, first of all, for some people to put in the comments what you believe binge eating is. So what is it that your belief is that binge eating is? Because it's quite interesting to see whether that fits in with the actual eating disorder centre that I trained at, whether it's the same thing. So please give me an idea and see if anybody can come up with what they think binge eating disorder is, or what type of behaviour means that you're binging. Come on guys, help me out here. Is there nobody there that can have a stab at it, or I'm going to be all on my own again? I was all on my own this morning when I was dancing myself dizzy in the challenge. So it was actually really good fun. I really enjoyed it. So is there nobody going to have a stab at it? No? Okay, all right then. Looks like my Billy No mates today. Eat a lot out of meal times. Okay, so you mean eating a lot of food outside of meal times? Is that what you're saying, Arlene? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, sounds reasonable. Could be. A lot of the things when I ask this question to clients are things that they say that it's eating a lot of food. It's eating food that you don't want to eat. It's eating bad foods, what we call bad foods. Yeah? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what binge eating disorder is and see what the symptoms are, so you can see whether you have it or had it. And then I'm going to tell you why you might have it, or what is contributing to your binging. And then I'm going to give you some tips onto how you can stop it happening in the first place. So things that you can do to stop yourself being more likely to binge. And also some tips on how you can stop it in its tracks. So that's what I want to do tonight. So bear with me, stay online, because you could learn some things, some really interesting things. But let's just have a look. So on the binge, I'm just on the internet now, so I'm going to tell you. So it says it's a severe, life-threatening and treatable eating disorder characterised by recurrent episodes of eating large quantities of food, often very quickly and to the point of discomfort. A feeling of a loss of control during the binge and experiencing shame, distress or guilt afterwards. That is what is classed as binge eating disorder. And it says that the binge eating episodes are associated with 3 or more of the following. Eating much more rapidly than normal. Eating until feeling uncomfortably full. Eating large amounts of food when not physically hungry. Eating alone because of feeling embarrassed by how much one is eating, and feeling disgusted with oneself, depressed or very guilty afterwards. So it says here that if you have 3 or more of the following, then you may be a candidate for binge eating disorder. So eating much more rapidly than normal, eating until feeling uncomfortably full, large amounts of food when not feeling physically hungry, eating alone because of feeling embarrassed by how much one is eating, feeling disgusted with oneself, depressed or very guilty afterwards. And then it goes on to say things like most people they might steal or have hoards of food, they will create rituals around food, they're very frequently dieting, checking in the mirror for perceived flaws, lots of things on here. So if you've got 3 or more of those 5 things that I said at the beginning, there is a possibility that you have got binge eating disorder. Now, binge eating disorder is very different than just the occasional binge eating, because we've all done that. Everybody does it. it means that you are having recurrent episodes of binge eating. So they say by recurrent, it means that you are having more than 3 a month. So, yeah, so if you're doing that more than 3 times a month, then you may need to get some support from an eating disorder therapist with your binge eating disorder, regardless of whether you've had weight loss surgery or not, because even with weight loss surgery, we can do all those things. We can eat more rapidly. We know we're supposed to slow down. We can eat until we feel uncomfortably full. We can eat large amount of food. So it's a large amount of food for... Hi, Michelle. I'm just saying them now. So eating much more rapidly than normal. Eating until uncomfortably full. Eating large amounts of food when not feeling physically hungry. Eating alone because of feeling embarrassed by how much one is eating, and feeling disgusted with oneself, depressed or very guilty afterwards. So we can do all of those even if I've had weight loss surgery, because yeah, we can say no, we can't eat a large amount of food, but it's a large amount of food for us when we're not physically hungry. Yeah? Okay. So why might you be getting these, you know, why might you be getting binges? Let's say that you're not necessarily got a binge eating disorder, but you just binge occasionally or on a regular basis, but it's not a massive problem. You know, what we need to think about is why this might be happening. So the main reason for binge eating is deprivation. When we are eating, when we deprive ourselves of either go for a long period of time without food, or we deprive ourselves of a certain food type, that is what is the biggest trigger for binge eating. Because I'm sure that every one of you that have been on here before have gone on diets, off diets, on diets, off diets, on diets, off diets. And I worked out once, I did a study on myself, and I worked out that when my pattern was I'd start a diet on Monday morning, I'd be absolutely on it like a carb on it, I'd be absolutely on it. Tuesday I still probably would be. Wednesday I'd probably be more or less, but I might have the odd little bit that I thought I shouldn't have. Thursday night would usually come along and that would be it. It's nearly weekend. And I'd probably have a few glasses of wine and a bit of chocolate, what have you. Now, the minute that I'd had that was it. I would hit the, you've heard me all call it before, the F it button. And before I knew it, that was it. I was eating everything in sight, and I would eat everything in sight until the next Monday morning when that cycle would start all over again. Now, I worked out once that when I was eating, not dieting, that when I wasn't dieting, I was actually not, when I was dieting with that weekend binge that lasted for days, my binges could last for days, I would actually put on, I'd actually consuming double the amount of calories than I would have done if I'd not been dieting at all. I found that absolutely shocking, because what I would do is I'd eat everything that I ate inside over that weekend because I thought, well, I can't have it again on Monday. So can you see how the deprivation is actually what is the biggest trigger for binge eating? And we already have a tool that deprives us to a certain extent. You know, it does deprive us. So we don't need to add to that by depriving ourselves too. Now, does that mean that I'm just saying to you, well, just eat whatever you want when you want? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is don't restrict certain food groups permanently. Don't say I am never eating sugar, or I am never eating cake, or I'm going to go completely low carb. Because when you do that, you set yourself up for deprivation. So Van, who works with me, you've seen her on one of these lives, she always says the 80-20 rule. So, you know, 80% of the time you are eating what's in the guidelines, but allowing yourself that 20% so that if you do eat something that's a little outside that guidelines, you're not feeling guilty or anything or shameful, and it means you can have a normal life, which is what we're doing this for. We want to live a normal, happy, healthy life. Okay, so that's the first reason. The second reason is lack of self-worth. So we don't value ourselves, we don't look after ourselves, we don't love ourselves enough to be able to not treat ourselves badly. So when you feel full from the inside and you are looking after yourself and feeling good about yourself, you don't want to make so many more inappropriate choices. I never say good or bad food, but inappropriate choices. Because you're feeling good about yourself. So you want to look after yourself. But when you're not feeling so good about yourself, then you are more likely to binge, because binging can also be a little bit like cutting yourself, you know, self-harming. Some people use it as a self-harming technique. Oh, I'm rubbish, I'm stupid, I've messed it up, right? And they actually punish themselves by eating large quantities of food. So self-love is really important. The third thing is in what I call environmental triggers. So those are being around food that is less appropriate for us, a lot of it. So for example, if you worked in a sweet shop, or you know, often my triggers for a binge eating episode would be going into the garage, forecourt. You know, I'm in the garage, I go and get some petrol, go in, surrounded by chocolate bars in all the arrays of colours, crisps, biscuits, everything. That's what I call an environmental trigger. So we get a trigger, something makes us eat it, and then we carry on. We don't stop. And the reason why the environmental triggers can cause the binge eating, rather than just eating like one chocolate bar, is because we have this perfectionism in us. It's this on it, off it, on it, off it, on it, off it. I'm either on it or I'm off it. I'm either on it or I'm off it. So it goes without saying that if we can do things that stop the perfectionism, the environmental triggers, we can love ourselves a bit more and we don't deprive ourselves. Those are the main ways that we can stop the emotional eating, or should I say the binge eating, before it happens. And I'm going to go through those with you in a minute. But what I first of all want to talk to you about is I want to do some psychology with you. So I want to talk to you about our brain. Now, you've heard me quite often talk about our subconscious brain. But today I'm going to bring in a different part of our brain that I very rarely talk about, but is very, very apt for this. It's called our reptilian brain. If any of you have ever read the book, oh God, what's it called? It's about a monkey. What monkey? Chimp, the Chimp Paradox. Absolutely brilliant psychological book that breaks down the human brain and the way that we work into a really simple way of working, of understanding it. The audio book's really good, actually really, really good. Get it, put it on in the car, and it really does talk about he calls it the chimp part of our brain, okay? But actually it's called our reptilian part of our brain. So it's the part of the brain that actually looks after our basic needs, and I mean really basic needs. So when our chimp brain or our reptilian brain sees something in front of us, something new, it really has three questions it asks. Do I eat it? Do I mate with it? Or do I kill it? And it is that part of our brain that is purely for survival of the species. So it's trying to keep you alive and the species alive, and that's its only job. So because that is a really strong, really, really strong drive for us to keep ourselves alive, keep the human race going, that is such a powerful thing. So if you have been used to eating to comfort yourself perhaps in any way, or got into realising that food is, you know, an amazing thing, it gets your serotonin going and everything, for eating in a way that's not just for fuel, and you are practicing that, I always call it your giving in muscle to those types of food, then the reptilian brain is very, very strong in you. So it will see the food and it'll go, I need to eat it, 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 I need to eat it. And it'll be talking to you. So that's the reptilian brain is the one that I call my food monster, right? So you stood in that queue in the supermarket and all of those chocolates and everything are around you, and you've made that absolute commitment today, you know, I'm not going to have anything, I'm going to be, you know, I'm going to have some really good appropriate foods today, I'm going to try keeping really looking after my body, nourishing my body, and I'm really going to take care of myself. I've promised myself that today. I've been on my run this morning, I've done all this, and it's that one that goes, yeah, but it won't matter, it's only one. Actually, that's a new one. You've not tried that before. Why don't you try it? You deserve this. Go on. You know you want it. It's only one. And before you know it, it's in the trolley and in your mouth. And you've not, and you get out and you think, what the hell? How the hell did that happen? Where did that come from? because that reptilian brain, that survival brain, has just come in and hijacked all your thoughts. All conscious thought is out the window. It's been hijacked by your reptilian brain that is there for survival. Okay? Now, the second part of your brain that you also aren't aware of and can't control so easily, you can't control at all, is your subconscious mind. Now, you can control your reptilian brain a little bit, but you cannot control your subconscious brain. So let's say that this bit is the bit that kills me with kindness. It wants me to be happy. It wants me to be at the place of happiness in euphoria forever, if it could. It absolutely hates me being in any discomfort or any pain. And it's the one that's most driven when we are what I call comfort and emotional eating, because it's trying to make us feel good all the time. That's its number one goal. And what it does is it goes back into our library part of our brain and goes, right, okay, what works most often and the quickest thing to make us feel better? And over the years, most of us have been using food as a comfort to some extent, and your subconscious brain, and I'm going to call that the mogwai. So those of you that have watched Gremlins, if you've seen Gremlins and he goes into the shop and he buys that gorgeous little fluffy thing, you know, that mogwai, and you want to stroke it and it sings it and it goes, da, 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 da. And it's just so cute, really, really cute. And he's told, isn't he, not to feed it after midnight, because if you feed it after midnight, I didn't know what happened. But when they did feed it after midnight, or the actual tricked him into feeding them after midnight, they turned into gremlins, which were these monsters from hell. They were horrific, absolutely horrific. So this subconscious brain, I call my mogwai, because when it's nice and kind and it's being kind to me, trying to kill me with kindness, is such a cute little fluffy thing that's got my best interest at heart. And it's just going, oh, but I want you to be happy. I want you to be happy. You know you'll feel a bit better if you have. So it just sends really strong things to you, signals to you to go, oh, go on, you'll feel better. So you've got this reptilian brain, or this monkey brain, or what I call my food monster, that's going, go, guan, 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 like Father Ted, guan, guan, you know you want, guan, guan, you know you want. You've got your little mogwai going, I want you to be happy. I really want you to be happy. Please be happy. You know you'll be happy if you have that chocolate. And then the last bit is the human brain. Now that's the conscious brain, the bit that we know and we're aware of our thoughts. And that bit's the bit that we need to be working here, because that's the bit that can actually make the connection between behaviour and consequence. If I eat this, the likelihood is I'm going to feel like this, the likelihood is I'm going to put weight on, the likelihood from that, and it can make consequence. And it also can make rational decision. But when your human brain is hijacked by mogwai and food monster, you haven't got a can else. It's really difficult. So what we have to do is to try to find ways of calming down our reptilian brain, or our monkey, our chimp brain, our food monster, letting our subconscious brain know that actually it's okay, I'm going to be all right, don't worry, you don't need to worry about me, I've got this in hand, it's all fine, it's all good. And then letting the human brain make the right choices. Does that make sense to anybody? Let me know if I'm making any sense, because I'm feeling quite lonely today because nobody's talking to me, or very few people are talking to me. Okay, so what we need to do is to quieten that food monster, or stop it from coming out in the first place. Let the mogwai know it's okay, and that if it eats after midnight, it's going to turn into a gremlin, because I'm going to feel really rubbish about this after, so please don't help me to eat. And then let the human brain be in charge and enable it to make the right choices based on what it knows is good for you, and will get you to your goals and where you want to be. Yeah? So, right, now that, all of those things, how to tame your chimp, if you like, and help your subconscious brain, and many, many other things, emotional eating, self-sabotage, loads of stuff like that, is what I do on my Bariatric Success course with my clients. We look at all of this psychology, we break it down very easily to understand, to explain, make people feel that they've got the skills that they need and the tools in their toolkit to be able to cope with all these different types of eating and ways that our monkey brain and our subconscious mogwai hijack us, and they do very often within our time, but within our day. So yes, that's what we do. So I can't tell you all of that tonight. Obviously, it's just, I mean, that's a 6 months worth of work and one-to-one coaching with me, and there's loads involved in it. But I try and give you a little bit of it each time I do one of these lives, to give you some tips to try to help you. And just to let you know, guys, that I've had such an overwhelming response of people saying that they were struggling with comfort eating and emotional eating during this time, that I'm going to be putting on a 5-day emotional eating challenge in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. So that will be a 5 days, every day at a certain time. I will be coming on live and I will be talking you through emotional eating, helping you to put together a bit of a plan as to what you would need to do to help yourself, and letting you so you can identify what kind of eater you are, what kind of plan you need to do, and then giving you loads and loads of resources to help you to start to take control of your emotional eating. And then I'll be giving you an option to work with me afterwards on your emotional eating too, if that's what you would like. But if you wouldn't, there's loads and loads of information in there that you can use just to help yourself at home. So that's going to be coming up in 2 or 3 weeks' time. So if anybody's interested in joining that challenge, it's completely free of charge. Let me know, please. Please let me know, and I will. I'll send you more information. But so what I want to do, I want to talk to you tonight of 5 ways that you're going to be able to stop it beforehand, and 5 ways to stop it in its tracks if you're in the middle of a binge eating situation. Okay, so the first thing is we need to try to set ourselves up so that we're not going to be putting ourselves in danger of binge eating. That's the most important thing. So it's a bit like prevention rather than cure, because once we get to that stage where we are binge eating, it's so much harder to pull it back. It's like I say to people who come on my coaching courses, if you work on this stuff when you've just had your surgery, it's so much easier than trying to work on it afterwards when things start to get out of kilter a bit. It's not impossible by any means, but it's easier. It's easier. And this is the same. So if we try to put some things in place to stop us to get to the stage where we're binge eating, it's going to make it much easier for us to stop it. So the first thing is, if we're thinking back to the things, the number one reason was deprivation, okay? And perfectionism. So the first thing is, stop restrictive dieting. Please, stop this. I'm only eating this type of food. I'm not eating carbs at all, or I'm never going to eat cake, or I'm never going to eat biscuits, because it really, 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 really does set you up for binge eating episodes. Look at the evidence you've got. Every one of you that's had weight loss surgery or considering weight loss surgery are only at this stage because you have been dieting for years. And if you look at the evidence of every other time you've dieted, you've restricted and you've come off it, and you usually end up being worse around your eating than you were before and putting more weight on. My husband used to say to me, "Oh God, please don't go on a diet, Amanda, you're going to be put a half a stone on." And he was absolutely right. Every time I went on a diet, I would put weight on. Not immediately, but the end result was that I would end up heavier 6 months later than I was when I started the diet. So, the first thing is to stop restrictive dieting. Stop telling yourself you can't have this, you can't have that. If you have a medical reason for that, then that's different. This is generalised advice. Remember that, guys. I can't give you individual personalised advice on here. So just bear that in mind. It's generalised advice for 80% of the population, 80-20 rule. The second one is labelling foods as being good or bad. So that's perfectionism thinking. It's either good or bad. I'm either on a diet or I'm off a diet. We don't have good or bad foods. If, for example, you were a diabetic and you were having a hyper, which means that I think that's the right way around, hypo, that means that you were struggling because you'd not got enough sugar in your blood, eating a Mars bar would be the very best thing you could do for yourself. It would save your life. So it is not a bad food. It is just more appropriate in certain circumstances than others. And that's the key, is working out which foods are appropriate in which circumstances. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about that in a minute, okay? When we get on to the next. So stay online, because that's absolutely the key thing for that, is which foods are appropriate when. And I'm going to give you a really simple way of working that out. Okay. So the next one, we've had no good or bad food. We've just got should I say, less appropriate choices. I call them more appropriate or less appropriate choices for the situation I'm in. So I don't say that I have had a bad food. I'll go, well, that was not the most appropriate choice, or that was a less appropriate choice than I would have liked. Yeah? Because then I'm not labelling myself good or bad, because when I label myself bad, I hit the exit button. Oh, well, I've done it now. I've messed it up. Might as well start again on Monday, next week, next month, after my holiday, after Christmas. Before I know it, I'm half a stone, 2 stone heavier. So less appropriate choices for that situation. Sorry, I know I sound like I'm on a soapbox, but it's so important. Number 3, avoid skipping meals. Again, this is a really, really big one. If your blood sugar levels are low, you are more likely to binge. How many people on here, hit me with some hearts or some thumbs up, have gone, right, okay, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to eat breakfast today because I'm going out for a big meal tonight and I want to have a few bevies and a bit of cake and what have you. So I'm not going to eat breakfast. I'm going to wait till lunchtime and yeah, I'm going to do that breakfast, and then I won't have eaten as many calories. And you get to about 11 o'clock and the biscuit tin goes around at work, or somebody brings in a piece of cake, and you don't have 1 biscuit or 2 biscuits. It's like 10, 5, 4, you know, because you've just gone without food that long, that when you do get that first bit of food into your mouth, and it'll always be an environmental trigger. So it's not a planned food, it's something you see and you go, I've got to have it. And before you know it, you've eaten 4 or 5. That's because your blood sugar levels are so low that your body is shouting out for food. Absolutely shouting out for food. So you have to eat regularly. Even if you've got things like protein shakes with you in the fridge, ready-made ones, but something, yogurts, bits of chicken, bits of prawns, bits of anything, parboiled eggs, egg muffins, things you can take with you very quickly. Have a little, what I call a bariatric bento box with you, that you can just eat something. And always having breakfast, because skipping breakfast, the studies that have been done on this, skipping breakfast, how much more likely you are to binge eat later in the day, are phenomenal. So really, really, really make sure that you are not skipping meals, because your blood sugar levels will plummet, and then you will be sick. It's almost impossible to override the gut and the brain, because both of those, that feeling in your gut that you're hungry, that's they actually say now that there are nerves in our gut. There's parts of our brain, they believe, is in our gut now. That's why we get that nagging feeling of it's telling us to eat. We need to eat because our blood sugar levels are low. So eating regularly, every 3 hours, something particularly high protein that will keep you full and stop you from being likely to binge. The next one is hydration, because we often think that we're hungry, but we're not. We're actually thirsty. So always hydration, keeping yourself hydrated. The other thing as well is that people don't realise that when we're losing weight, we need to flush out the fat with water. If you don't drink enough water, you won't lose the weight as quickly, because you're not flushing the toxins through your system and the fat out of your system. So please, hydration is so important. And the 5th one is stress reduction, because stress increases cortisol, it increases the comfort eating, it really gets that emotional eating, comfort eating going. So daily practices of things like yoga and meditation, however stressed, however difficult your life is, and let's face it, nearly all of us have got massive extra difficulties in one way or another at the moment. Practicing a 5-10 minute yoga or meditation every single day will help to quieten your brain, reduce the level of cortisol, reduce the levels of insulin in your system, which will enable you to make more appropriate choices. And it will also help your mood. So really, you know, a daily meditation or some sort of yoga is really, really helpful, not just to make you feel good and not to help for your body and your mind, but also reduces the likelihood of you binging and also reduces the likelihood of you storing calories as fat. So those are really good tips. So those are the 5 tips to stop yourself from binging in the first place. But what happens if we're in a binge? If we started to binge? Excuse me, I've got to have a drink. I'm trying to get this done in enough time to get, because I've got my client class after this, so all the people that work with me on the Bariatric Success Solution, we have a group session on a Wednesday evening, 8 o'clock, so I'm trying to get this in time for me to have a quick cuppa before I start again, but I don't want to miss anything out, because it's also very important. If I just let my face. Okay, so what are the 5 things you can do if you are in the middle of the binge? So you're just about to binge or you're in the binge. The first thing I would say is just check in with your brain. Which part of my brain is talking to me now? Is it reptile brain or food monster going, go on, giving you all those reasons and excuses, etc., etc. You get back on it tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. Is it your mugwai killing you with kindness, is going, you'll feel better. So there's some emotional reason or some underlying uncomfortableness. Or is it your human brain? Is it your human brain that's making a conscious decision? And I'm going to give you, in a minute, 3 questions that can help you get it into your human brain. So asking yourself that question. The second bit is these 3 questions. Okay. I always talk about these 3 questions as being a treat. We talk about having a treat. And most people, when they're having a treat, you've probably heard me say this a few times in my lives before, but it's always a good one to remember. If you're having a treat, we usually see that as being a treat for our taste buds, don't we? You know, something that tastes nice, something that is off plan, if you like, and tastes nice. So we're going to have a treat. Or even some diet plans call them cheats. I mean, how ridiculous is that? Cheating on yourself? Why? You're never going to get any pleasure out of that. Never. But a treat suggests that we're going to get pleasure. Or it's good for us because it's treating us. You talk about how you treat somebody. You treat them well, you treat them bad, you treat them indifferently. Now, a treat, really, if it's treating us well, should be treating our body well, because that's the thing that carries us. That's the thing that keeps us alive, keeps us going. Not our taste buds. That's just a part of our body, our taste senses, but we see it as being something that's good for our taste buds. So what I want you to think about is I want you to think of 3 things. The first thing is this a treat for my taste buds? Now, the answer 9 times out of 10 is yes. However, sometimes it's not. Sometimes we will eat food that doesn't taste good just because it's there, or we will eat food that doesn't taste good because we feel that we shouldn't eat better quality because we're only eating a little bit. Sod that for a game of soldiers, you know. I can only eat a small amount, so I'm eating damn good stuff, and if it doesn't eat nice, I'm not eating it. If it doesn't taste nice, I'm not eating it. I never forget the first time I went out with my husband to a posh restaurant. I'd be about 6 months out, and I ordered a lobster, and he was like, I'm not paying 25 quid for some lobster for you. You'll only eat 6 mouthfuls of it. And I went, hang on a minute, darling. Just because I can only eat a small amount doesn't mean to say I'm going to eat rubbish. You know? Sorry, you ain't getting away with that one. And I took it back home with me. And I had it cold and a salad. I wouldn't warm it back up again, but I had it cold and a salad the next day. You know? But I'm not eating rubbish just because I eat a little bit. Make sure that whatever you're eating, you really enjoy. So the first thing is, does it taste good? The second thing is, so is it a treat for my taste buds? The second question, if I'm about to eat something that I think is less appropriate, is it a treat for my body? Is it going to nourish my body? And the third question I will ask myself is it going to nourish my soul? So what do I mean by that? Okay, so let's think about being back in that garage forecourt or the supermarket. You're stood at the till, and you've made every single thing. Today, I've been on a run this morning, I'm feeling great, I'm going to eat really healthy and well, I'm going to look after my body, it's going to be an amazing day today, and we only can do one day at a time. If we do one day at a time, it makes it much easier. So we're in today. I've made all these decisions that I'm going to do it, and you've got your little food monster going, guan, guan, guan. You know you can. You can start again tomorrow. It's only one. It's only one Mars bar. You haven't had one for ages. You deserve it. Blah 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 blah. Okay. So you are listening to that food monster, and and that's making you feel a bit uncomfortable and a bit. So that little mogwai that wants to love you to death is going, oh, you're feeling a little bit sad. Oh, bless you, darling. Well, go on then. Why don't you? Yeah, go on. Have it. It'll be all right. I love you. Doesn't matter. And your human is trying to go through all that and go, no, I said I was going to stay on track and I was having a really good day and I was going to eat healthy. To help you with that, to shut the other two up, you ask yourself the 3 questions. Okay, so if you think about what would normally happen for me, I can only talk about myself. If I was off a diet, should I say, when I was on diets, off diet, and I'd walked into the supermarket or I walked into the petrol station and there'd be all these lovely sweets around me, and I'd think, sod it. And I'd pick up 2, possibly 3 chocolate bars. I'd buy them, I'd go back into the car, I would set off on a binge, and I would eat all 3 of them very, very quickly because I knew I really felt I shouldn't be eating them. I'd hardly taste them. I'd eat it in secret. I'd stick the wrappers down the side of the car, down the doors, and then I get on my way, and on the way wherever I was going, that feeling of guilt, remorse, dread, what the hell have I done, why have I done that, what stupid, I'm this, I'm that, the other, that guilt just will set in, and then I am likely to hit that effort button, and then that's it. All bets are off then because I'm feeling bad, I feel guilty, I feel rubbish, I'm not looking after myself, I don't feel worthy, that self-worth goes down, and the binging continues, and it can continue for days or even weeks or months. So a binge eating episode is one that lasts for more than 20 minutes, usually. Or is it more than 10 minutes? But it's eating up. Oh, just classed as eating a large amount of food in a small amount of time. Let's put it that way. So it could be 3 chocolate bars. It wouldn't take me long to get over them, but it's not really a normal portion, 3 chocolate bars. But a binge can consist of several episodes that go on for a long time, like a week or a month. It's like that, when you've hit that button and you just go sod it and you just eat and eat and eat whenever you want, whatever you want. So that could set off one for me. So what I do is I ask myself, right, number 1, is this a treat for my taste buds? You bet it is. 3 double deckers, yeah, it tastes like really nice. Is it a treat for my body? Absolutely not. There is no nutritional value whatsoever in a double decker bar. None, really. It's possible to say there's a bit of protein in it with the milk, but that would be seriously stretching it. Number 3 is it a treat for my soul? And the answer to that in that circumstances is absolutely not. I am never going to feel good about this afterwards. I'm never going to go out of here skipping, hopping down the road going, isn't life wonderful? I'm only ever, after this situation, going to feel rubbish, beat myself up and feel guilty and remorseful. So if I can ask myself those 3 questions and do the next one, which is to stop and put a timer on me for 3 minutes and do nothing for 3 minutes, then the chances are I can stop that binge eating episode in its track. However, when I was talking about inappropriate and appropriate foods, would it be appropriate to say no in a different circumstance? So those 3 questions work in different ways. So I'm at a birthday party. And I always use the thing of my niece because I can remember this particular situation. She had one of those unicorn cakes and she wanted me to have a piece of cake. Auntie Mandy, please have a piece of cake. Please, it's my birthday. Now, is it a treat for my taste buds? Yes. Is it a treat for my body? No. Is it a treat for my soul? Well, yes, it is. Because if I don't eat that cake with her, number 1, I'm going to feel guilty for not she wants me to, and I've not joined in with her birthday. I'm going to feel deprived, which is one of the main reasons for binge eating. And I'm going to feel left out. Fear of missing out is another one. I talked about that the other week. I'm going to feel not part of, and I'm going to feel like an alien. I'm going to go home, and what's the most likely thing I'm going to do is I'm going to binge eat on the way home. I'll stop at the garage, I'll have the 3 double-deckers, or I'll go home, get the biscuit barrel out, because I feel like rubbish. So, to have that piece of cake is really good for my soul. So I've answered yes to 2 of the 3 questions. Now, if I answer yes to 2 of the 3 questions, I eat the food because it's an appropriate choice at that time. And this question, those 3 questions will help you with every single choice you make in your day. Every single food choice, if you ask yourself those 3 questions. So, if you ask yourself those 3 questions and you're still struggling, put a timer on it for 3 minutes and don't do anything apart from have a glass of water and brush your teeth. So that's question number 4, is to have a glass of water and brush your teeth within that 3 minutes. And I can almost guarantee you at the end of the 3 minutes, if you really don't want to, the binge eating, the binging desire will have gone. The last one is something that I practice quite often with my patients called emotional freedom technique. And I am going to introduce you guys to this again next week to help with stress and to help with binge eating and things. I'm going to talk you through some things over this period of time, something called EFT, emotional freedom technique, that you can use when you are struggling with binge eating, comfort eating, anything like that, eating when you don't want to. Which is something called emotional freedom technique, or tapping, where you tap on meridian points on your face and around your body. So what this does, it's using acupressure points that helps to allow the energy flow in the body to go freely, which means that you actually relax enough for the craving and the binging or whatever it is, the stress, to dissipate. So if you fancy doing a little bit of emotional freedom technique, which is a really helpful sideline to acupuncture next week with me, hop on at 7, because I'm going to be doing a demonstration at 7 on here. So hope that's really helpful. The last thing is, if you do binge, don't feel guilty. You're human. And you have got an illness. We all have. It's called obesity, those people that are watching this. So, you know, don't binge, but the one thing you must do is not try to make up for it by not eating your next meal, because then you're setting yourself off for it again the day after. So put a line under it, carry on and eat as normal. That's the very best advice I can give you. Hope that's been helpful tonight. Sending you loads of love. Those of you that are on the challenge, hope you've done your dancing today. Tomorrow I've got another challenge for you, and I will have every day for the next 26 days now, I think it is. We've got some great prizes coming in from coaches and other people, and Van's offered, our bariatric dietitian's offered a dietetic appointment with her. There's so much going on. So please, join the Bariatric Success Lounge. If you want to join this 5-day challenge I'm going to be doing, I'm opening up a new group for that soon. Please let me know, either on here or send me a PM if you don't want people to know, but let me know if you're interested. It's completely free, 5 days, having a look at our comfort and emotional eating, self-sabotage, or comfort and emotional eating, maybe a little bit of self-sabotage, so that you can get a bit of a grip and a handle on that. So let me know. Take care. Lots of love. Bye.